Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 394, and today we're doing battle with Jax Ornn. And so, Jax Ornn, very fun, very strong deck. This is one of the decks that we took to the Runeterra Open in the previous video. We're most certainly going to bring it to the next Runeterra Open in this upcoming week, and it has a lot of many fantastic and powerful things going for it. And so, as it stands right now in the current meta, you really need to be able to attack through a wall of units. And so, it's more commonly seen with something like a Nora deck, to where they just flood the board with a bunch of crappy units. Same thing happens with decks like Teemo Tristana, where they build up a bunch of Owlcats on the board. But even decks, say, like the Seraphine Samira Plaza Guardian deck still tends to put a bunch of just like crappy blockers on the board through things like Scrap Scuttler and Jury Rig and the like, and so you really need to be able to overwhelm through that. And so this deck has lots of ways to really attack those with the overwhelms. Jax and Ornn both capable of getting overwhelmed themselves. Ruthless Raider has overwhelm on its own, and then the various improvises give us the opportunities to pick up things like overwhelm or pick up fearsome or pick up scout, so that we have ways to just attack through those walls of turdy units. And so that's kind of key point number one to have. But the deck is also very multifaceted in the sense that it has a lot of heal to it. It has a lot of gameplay and power against decks like Poppy Ziggs and like Pirates that are trying to burn you out at the end of the game, with the access to the innovative blacksmiths and the Hearthblood Menders. And so they give us lots of ways to progress and stall out the game. I've seen notes on Twitter of people saying it's interesting playing against Jax Ornn because it basically starts the game with 40 health, which it feels like very, very often. The last kind of interesting thing about this deck is it does have a good amount of reach to it. And so what we mean by reach are ways to close out a game that has drug on a little bit too long. And with the forges and the various equipments, you have lots of ways to come in and finish those games. And so if you have any of the equipment, say that we've just improvised for something and given it +3/+3, if we wanted to say it's a Fisha Whack, so it's a 5/3 Fisha Whack that we're now carrying on one of our units, that unit dies, we put the 5/3 Fisha Whack onto something else, we copy that one with an Ornn, now we have a 7/5 Fisha Whack and a 5/3 Fisha Whack. Then as those units die, we don't really care that those units died, right? The big important thing that was presenting the stats to those units was the equipment. And so now that we're able to replay that equipment, we can potentially drain our opponent out of resources because they didn't actually kill what the important resource was. And so those are the kind of key attributes to the deck. Very strong things going on here. Still carries a nice suite of removal spells with the Fish Fights and the Sorta removal spells and the Entrancing Lure. Bellows Breath being a fantastic way to get some board clear. And then the Troll Chance and Catches is your kind of cheap combat tricks, if you will. And of course the Battle Fury, because we like to have fun. You don't have to play Battle Fury in this thing, but if you like to have fun, you most certainly will include it in your deck. And so that's it. That's what we're doing paddle with today. We paid the pay-to-win price in our previous video, so the deck is already good to go. Everything's all premium, all paid up. It's the only way that we can actually achieve wins anyways. We got to pay to win in this game. And it feels good to know that we've done it. All right, up against the mirror match with another Jax Ornn. This could be a very swingy match in terms of you can snowball ahead of your opponent before they're able to really get on board. The most important thing that we're going to be finding here are our forge cards. And so I really want to be starting with Weaponsmith's Apprentice, and I want to be starting with Favored Artisans so that we can build up a single equipment. And then as we kind of said in the intro, as the unit dies, we don't really care, but having that big, important, and strong equipment should hopefully carry us through the game. So we will need to find an improviser, something to go along with it. But in these scenarios, I would much rather have like 3 forges and no improvises, as opposed to 3 improvises and no forges. That's kind of opposite of how you would feel about a lot of situations. Like if you think you're playing back of the days of, say, playing Aatrox, you could keep a hand with 3 units, but you couldn't keep a hand with 3 equipment. It feels just a little bit different here because all of the power comes out of the forges. And so opponent's definitely ahead on board right now, but now that we've hit our improvise, hopefully we can get out ahead of our opponent. So with these, there's no removal spells coming out of these decks. I'm just going to go with the Fix 'em 5000 to help us be strong on the attack. We can still come in, take down an innovative blacksmith potentially. Looks like opponent's going to take their challenge where they can get it. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm leaning towards just going ahead and putting in the block. We're not going to get too much value out of these artisans in the future, and so we can look to maybe trade with the innovative blacksmith. But this favorite artisan's ready to party. We could have waited a little bit to try and get the Ruthless Raider on board, but we're going to be spending all of our mana this turn on forges, and so it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get active. I'm looking to we'll see if opponent plays a unit here. If they don't play a unit, we can double forge the artisan, hit it with the entrancing lure, hook in the combat cook, and then still attack with our other favorite artisan. If they add a unit, we might have to change our movements just a little bit. Bellow's Breath is fine. Kills his unit, doesn't kill any of ours, and we can still attack down the combat cook this turn. It's kind of interesting in that we now don't need... Okay. I was going to say, it's kind of interesting now that we don't actually need to forge our unit to take down his unit. We could have played the Ruthless Raider, put Challenger onto our equipped unit and gone from there. All right, though. Victory unlocked in the strangest of ways. Good job, team. On to the next one. All right, up against Jhin. So with this, we're just going to look for some early game stuff to do. This is another match to where that healing is incredibly important. You know, the Jhin deck has no reach to it. It's basically going to spew all of its card on the board and say, "Hey, did I win the game?" And if you're able to stall the board, and if you're able to gain a little bit of health, they don't have ways to stall out the game, and so we're pretty safe in that sense. So with this, I'd like to get the bonus from the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. If we don't get it, that's okay. You know, if he adds a Legion Saboteur here, then I'll happily trade with it. The Legion Rearguard, we can probably just take 5 for the turn, but I'm just going to play this one super safe and still just throw the block out in front of the Rearguard. Getting the +1/+1 onto the innovative blacksmith isn't that big of a deal. Just want to not die. As long as we can just sit around and not die, we're going to be okay. And so this is definitely one of these matches where I describe it as don't lose until you win, right? And so what that kind of means is if we just do everything we can to prevent damage, if we come out here and say, I'm going to take card disadvantage just so I don't lose any of my health resource, then you're typically going to be fine. As the game drags on to turn 8 or turn 9, they don't have any reach, and you're able to just kind of come out and win the game from there. So, long story short, we'll prevent that 3. Move on to the next turn. We could have taken the damage there, actually, and just played Bellow's Breath here, but I'm a little bit more interested in getting the heal out of this innovative blacksmith. We're getting pretty far ahead on board as the combat cook can come down next turn, heal us another point. Hearthblood Mender comes down 2 turns from now, heals us another 3 points. Looking pretty strong in that sense. We're gonna be real. This is probably just the place to Bellow's Breath. I'm curious to how long we could get away without playing it. I think this is probably just good enough, though. I feel like if we just pass the board right here, opponent's gonna go, oh shit, we're about to get boomed. And at least this way, he still needs to play 2 cards to be able to attack for the turn, right? He needs to come in and get a stun and then have another unit. So, yeah. It feels like it's going to be a pretty sad day for you. Hey, GG. So, yeah, we played this in the open. I was pretty happy with our results in there. We ended up going 5-3. Not the most spectacular results on the day, but I'm really happy with how I've really been progressing with the game over the past 6 months or so. It's pretty incredible the difference in skill I feel from like when we started switching into Constructed as kind of lost, right? We just played Expedition forever, and then Expedition went away, so we started playing Constructed. That took quite a bit of time to learn. And then, I mean, we're able to hit Masters pretty quick, but not really able to be competitive in Masters. And then moving on and moving forth, I feel like we're starting to get to that point to where we're actually competitive, and it feels nice. Feels good. So with this, I'm just going to go ahead and attack. If opponent plays Samira here, we're going to be stuck without being able to hit. And so I don't want to just lose out on the unit. We'll go ahead and add in the other apprentice, though. If he wants to get clever with his next turn and play cards before he attacks, we can get both of the bonuses onto our castaway. But no, it feels pretty good. Like, I was... it's such a different space moving from limited to constructed. Like constructed, you get rewarded for being like very, very, very proficient at like 6 matchups, right? You know, if you're if just as the people in constructed are just going to play the best decks that are available, and so as they're playing the best decks, there's just not as many of them. But if you're playing a limited format, you get kind of forced into stuff, right? An expedition, if you opened a pack that or a champion set that was like, Thresh and Karma and Ezreal, you have to play one of those, right? And so those champions may not be relevant whatsoever in the space of constructed, but in limited, you have to be good with those. And so you were rewarded for being kind of, a jack of all trades and proficient across the board instead of really, really understanding a small subset of matchups. And so it's interesting the switches that come about trying to learn those different skills, but happy with it. So with this, like we do have this kind of spot to where we could have played towards the Bellows Breath, and the Bellows Breath looks like it could kill all the opponent's units, but this Samira is really close to flipping. I don't think that was ever going to be a successful attack, and I'm pretty certain that if we go for the Entrancing Lure onto Samira, she's just gonna flip and maybe still causes potential problems. And so I'm fine to just play this slow. We can get a big board here. We're not at any risk of dying. Opponent's about to get domed pretty hard on this board, so they may have to end up giving up some of their units, and then we can maybe get a kill 2 turns from now. Alright, Powder Monkey coming in. Only got the one good attack, but it's for a big number, right? Interesting. Why does he just goes for the trade instead of preventing the damage with the monkey? I'm really surprised that he gave up on his unit. Well, I do have the answer to Powder Pandemonium. I don't want to be taking all that damage. Womp womp. It's nice. We have the tough unit on board as it is, so it just doesn't take any damage from the forge. Very strong spot to be in. So interesting space here. I was leaning towards just going with the innovative blacksmith, because that's the one that's going to let us just get the most heal. I think that's probably still the way to go about it. It's just like as we picked up Ornn, we have the choice to open attack with him 2 turns from now. But I think this is fine. This is safe. Let's go ahead and get this Samira off of the board. Now we get to gain a couple extra points of health, right? If we just played the Hearth Bloodmender this turn, we'd gain 3. Then we play Ornn, and we're done with our game. Taking this kind of angle, we'll get a few more points out of this innovative blacksmith and get the full 3 out of the Mender. And then ideally, if we get over to our next attack and we put Fish a Whack onto something and then copy it with Ornn, that's just going to be enough to end the game. Just got to get there though, right? he seemed pretty reasonable, right? He's going to take us down to 4. Uh-oh. And a rally. How bad is that? So we take 3. He gets the thing back in hand. we can't do anything about this at the moment. I'm trying to decide if we want to actually just play Bellows Breath and try and kill the Fizz, or if we want to drop a Hearthblood Mender. If we drop the Hearthblood Mender, we get to gain more health. Right? Dropping the Bellows Breath essentially prevents the damage from Fizz, but we'll get 1 extra out of the Mender. 3, 4, 5, 6 from the Stylish Shot, 7 from the Flare, 8 from the Stylish Shot. So we should be at 1.
By the forge we create and we mend.
He's still got 1 other unknown card in his hand, so that might be problematic. Guess he could chum the waters this turn. Is that where he's going to get his extra point of damage? He can chum the waters onto the blacksmith. Man, I noticed that too late. We could have forged the blacksmith to prevent the damage off of this thing. We could like swap out the equipment here, but that's not going to be enough. I keep confusing myself as well. The picture on Fish-A-Whack is so similar to the picture on Fish Fight. It's a little confusing to me. But as it stands, opponent can't play Stylish Shot this turn, so we can open next turn with a Forge and gain a little bit of health. Right? See how similar the picture is on Fish-A-Whack to Fish Fight? It's a little confusing. So we ran into this yesterday. If you want to hit this strongest equipment in hand, you just play the Ornn and hit done. So now he's going to copy the Fish-Whack. It's going to load onto him. And we'll get the... Oh shit, no, our dude is dead. Fuck. Yeah, we completely lost on that space. Losing out on that unit as well. I like how we approached that game. That was pretty good going for the max health gain there. I didn't recognize we needed to forge our lower health unit. But it's good stuff though. Like as we were talking about the improvements over the past year, it's stuff like that, getting the game even to where it's in that point, to having that come down to that like one little play, that one little choice. I feel like if we were playing this game 6 months ago, we would have probably had 2 or 3 mistakes up to that point. And now that those have been kind of eliminated, that's really pushing up the win rate. That mistake count is dropping and dropping and dropping. Feels good. All right, though, up to battle against the Seraphine. I assume even with Ezreal, they're still just playing the Plaza Guardian deck. And so we're going to want to kind of come out in front of this thing fast if we can. So I'll hang on to the Innovative Blacksmith. We're on the even attacks here. Going to see if we can't find some 1s and 2s to really assist with the aggression here. And Jax and friends turned up. I'm going to start off with the favorite artisan and not Jax. I don't really want to have to start dropping catches on him just to have him survive here in the early game, where doing battle with favorite artisans is kind of pain in the ass. It takes a lot of removal from the opposing deck to stop this thing. Now here, I usually just want the most defensive ones. I want to force the opponent to have to spend all of their mana on removal spells and not other stuff. And so if opponent wants to come out here and say just play like a single removal spell and then have 2 mana left over for something later, that's what happens if we start, putting the scout equipment onto the blacksmith. They're able to just hit it with the Mystic Shot, and then they're like, oh, cool, well, I've got 2 mana left over to do something else with. It's very good that we got to drain them out of 2 cards and 3 mana just by the choice of the equipment in the combat reel. All right, ready to pop off though. Get everybody up to 4 attack now. That's gonna be sweet. So I'm looking to lead. Do we want to lead in with the apprentice? Like, I want to get the combat reel onto the artisan. That's going to happen. I guess we can look to, say, like, play combat cook and then next turn blacksmith and Jax. This is like a more tempting upcycled rake because it takes so much removal to stop a combat cook. always nice to have the rakes as well in terms of Ornn. So I think this is good to see exactly what I was talking about. He's going to have to spend a Mystic Shot and another card to get this unit off of the board. I don't have the highest of expectations for our combat hook here, but it's still taking quite a bit of work. Now a Hearthblood Mender. Okay, I'm convinced. Oh no, fuck. Oh, that was a misclick. I felt so good about this now that the combat cook was gonna be ready for battle. Oh fuck. This is this is a little more problematic. How sick would this be if this guy was all healed and everything? Uh-oh. Going in for the aftershock? Okay. So I think we can hold on to our time and dedication. He's not gonna... I don't like if he blocks us with Seraphine, it's fine. We'll just play the Scout Rake later. What a bummer of a misclick. If you didn't pick up on what we were trying to do, we wanted to heal the combat cook. It's going to have the forge and have that really strong Scout Rake, and then we should be able to find ourselves able to attack and then put the bonus equipment onto the favored artisan. Everything just went kind of sideways there. So it is what it is. Interesting to see him go ahead and play Plaza Guardians. You typically want to be exceptionally safe with these things so you can get your blood for bloods on them and stuff, but it's already come in and run it out. So I'm leaning towards we can play the Blacksmith, we can play the Castaway, and then we can look to Fish Fight onto the Plaza Guardian. Okay, let's lead with the Castaway and see if anything changes. Pot of Pain's a decent one for him. What's the one health or survive all of the one health removal spells, or the one damage removal spells, I should say. Oh, this game would be so this would be so different if we didn't misclick. What a bummer. What a bummer. Sure. Alright, Blacksmith coming in. I'm just going to go with the Shepherd's Authority on this one. I want our fish fight to be successful here. And this is going to give us the biggest opportunity for that. Did the things just change now that he's got a fresh 6/6? Probably did. Probably did. Well, how close is Jax? He's pretty far away. We can start to get like 6/6s on the board for next turn. Let's just go ahead and take this one off the board. Right, we can put the Rake onto the Hearthblood Mender. Maybe that gets a trade. If it gets a trade, that feels like a pretty big win for us. And then we can get an additional big unit with another hook. Now, Jax is kind of interesting. We might be able to Entrancing Lure another Plaza Guardian down, but we need to get this strike in first.
I will be worthy.
So he went Tellstones. Is this going to be a Transmogulator? Sure, I guess. We got what we wanted. We were needing to get that damage so that our Jax could flip. So we got what we needed there. But if we're going to do like Jax and Entrancing Lure, we're only going to have one more mana at that point. So let's add in the Apprentice. I guess it's a valid question if we want to hook the Plaza Guardian with something else, but I think Jax having Overwhelm now makes it a reasonable enough attack here to not worry about it in that way.
You and you, switch.
Hammer, tongs, anvil.
All right, got all these Plaza Guardians off the board. The Seraphine's gone. Don't have to worry about too many combos. Opponent down to 2 cards in hand. Decent space, you know. This is like trying to line up this the best place for this scout rake. We can look to put it on Jax. The opponent doesn't want to deal with all that nonsense, but I'm glad we were able to take that one down even after the misclick. GG. It's one of those things I like to show these big strings of games for, though. If you have the misplays turn up, I feel like there's a lot of cherry picking that happens in terms of YouTube content to make the creator look like the best player in the world. I think there's a lot of value in having some of those losing moments turn up, especially if you're able to recover out of it. But sweet. I think this is reasonable here. We have an artisan into a blacksmith. Again, we want to be starting this Jax Ornn matchup off with the forges, but I don't want to just like completely hard mulligan looking for our 2 early game forge units. This is a reasonable enough start with the artisan into the blacksmith.
Nothing speaking to me.
It's an interesting early Jax. Wouldn't mind taking him down early. It's not that he's like a super strong unit here, but
there are stories in the ringing of steel.
we will just let it stick. So we're gonna hit quick attack in here? Sure not. Pick up the combat reel. I don't expect opponent will just block here with Jax anyways, so this unit should be safe for the most part. We do have the mana to Bellows Breath next turn as well, and so if he adds a smaller unit on board, we can ace the Jax, boost our innovative blacksmith, and really be popping off.
Glad there's a chef on the team now. What's for dinner?
Did you get quick attack?
All
right. See if we can't take this Jax down. There's ways out of it. This isn't like a guaranteed kill unto him, but it does give us a lot of strength if it's successful. But if he plays like a catch or if he plays a troll chant, the Jax can definitely survive this. But like otherwise, all that we're going to be doing this turn would be adding a favorite artisan or a Jax. Neither of those are very proactive in the face of these 2 quick attack units, and so I like what's happening here. And losing out on the innovative blacksmith isn't a big deal, right? We aren't excited about this 2-power unit. We're excited about the equipment that it's got going on, right? So this it's harder to see how big the combat reel is. It's a 5/4 at this point. This Jax is up to 8. Ours is only at 5. What? How do we want to go about this turn? It feels like a little dangerous to be getting our Jax going at this point. I'm leaning towards just playing an artisan, boosting our blacksmith, and then attacking with everybody. So we'll see who he adds to the board, if that's going to affect this or not, but we're just trading at this point. Okay. So we'll take the trade. We'll have 2 mana now because this is a combat reel. Then we'll hook the combat reel back onto a favorite artisan. Make sure we just have the big boy on board. You ready to rumble with this 7/7 artisan? But that's the big late game power of this deck, right? We get so much strength coming out of these things, and if he's not careful here, if he starts playing stuff before he attacks, and we can get the artisan up to 8/8, then we'll have the flipped Ornn for the next attack. Lots of power there, lots of power. And so we'll see how this turn goes. I'm going to look to Blacksmith, Time and Dedication, and Jax, and then play Ornn next turn. That's the plan. pick the Scout Rake. I don't think we're going to be using the Scout Rake here too much. But again, having access to Ornn and the Scout Rake, it's a pretty big deal being able to get those double attacks in with him. I just don't think, given this board, he'll really be realistically surviving it. So dude's got that 3 mana at home. We're pretty safe here, right? If he just passes the turn, that's fine. If he wants to get into combat with an Entrancing Lure, he shouldn't be able to kill our favorite Artisan. He's only got 1 mana behind, and so I think this will all be pretty safe here. It's like he recognized that he was about to get popped by the 8/8. So Ornn's not getting too crazy there. He's still going to have a really strong attack next turn. See if opponent brings his own Ornn to the party.
Name's Ornn. No further pleasantries needed.
Name's Ornn, no further pleasantries. Alright, combat ready. We'll be getting 2 mana back now. We got the 2 combat reels. We don't have any combat tricks in hand, but if you're playing against a more storied opponent, they may have to start to worry about things like Troll Chant as these attacks come in and they say, oh, you've got 2 mana. I think everybody forgot how to play around Troll Chant. We had that we had that month or whatever of playing Standard, and everybody forgot that Troll Chant existed. Now nobody plays around it. It's gonna be much more active in the next open. What you got for us, my dude? I don't feel like this was a phone to the toilet. I think he's thinking hard on this, right? He made his big he made his big hook play on the previous turn, but we might have our first phone to the toilet play of the day. You can never tell, you know. He says he's probably on mobile, right? That's so frustrating when you want to concede a game on mobile and you push the friends button instead of the cog, and then so you got to like fuck around again, then you push the cog and it loads up, and you push the support button instead of surrender. It is incredibly painful. I mean, I don't have the solution for it. Well, I do have the solution, but you just know it's never going to happen, and they need to move that friends button way over to the left, and then I really have no idea why the support button is right next to surrender, but the intern got away with one there. Say Riot did their collegiate hiring. All the new college kids came in. They didn't have time to check all of their work. Somebody got away with putting surrender right next to support. Now they work on Project L. Alright, next battle though, up against the Plaza Guardian deck again. I think we're good here again. We'll hang on to 1 Blacksmith because we're on the odd attacks. Ideally, we'll find a cheap play. We got 12 of them, right? We play a little bit more of the cheap plays than you see in a lot of these lists, and so chance it'll turn up. We did. We got a favorite Artisan. So pretty good curve. Our friend Bone Club making its first appearance for the day.
Don't ask for permission or forgiveness. There are stories in the ringing of steel.
Block. Oh man, I miss this stuff so much with Samira's reign over Standard. It's been crazy to me seeing like War Chefs. I don't know when War Chefs got upgraded to a 2/3. We've been playing quite a lot of War Chefs in our best of 3 efforts in the Poppy decks, and just having more of these having more of these games where the opponent leads with Samira and you're just like, cool, 2/3. It just feels so good. You didn't have that in Standard. It's why she is so powerful. It's interesting how these things play out to where things like Conchologist. never really got punished for being dropped down to a 2-1, right? So it started off at like a Conchologist probably started off like fucking 3-2. I don't remember what it. Did it actually get multiple nerfs from 3-2 to 2-2 to 2-1? It might have. I don't entirely remember its story, but there wasn't anything running around like Samira that could just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to challenge you into combat and kill you, just ensure that you're not going to get combats. And there's not that like selection of just big units to slam down in front of her anymore. And so it's been interesting being able to play random 2-3s, just dropping them in front of Samira and saying what you got. All right, well we got a nice strength of equipment hand here, but we're playing against the Aurelion Sol ramp deck. I love it. I like what you're about out here, climbing your way up to Targon's Peak, but you don't currently have any equipments to work with these, and this is the kind of space to where we need to get our units like slightly big. They need to be big enough to come out here and survive stuff like avalanches, but I don't want to get them too big, as we might run into a space to where, if we have a 1,000 Ornn and then a bunch of other 1/1s and the opponent hits him with a harsh winds, we're going to wish we spread out those stats a little bit better. So let's see what turns up. None of these units have
There are stories in the
an
ring
equipment,
of
which is
steel.
kind of awkward. Yeah. Curious, we probably need to just go ahead and take his ramp card down. It sucks that we don't have any, equipment bros on board to make this better, but we're falling behind really fast. So at least if we can slow him down just a touch, we might be able to get ahead. There's an equipment. Give me a good one, Castaway. What do you got? It's like, I think we're stuck with Pan of Pain. We're really hoping for Overwhelm or Scout here, but like I am kind of eyeballing the combat reel, but that's just not like super strong. It is kind of nice in the sense that Ornn, who's going to be our prized play this game, already has tough. So I guess the combat reel at least does something, right? Something's better than nothing. Let's go ahead and time and dedicate so we don't overbank, and then we'll play the Heartblood Mender next turn. Like we're really just counting on making this gigantic combat reel, then copying it with Ornn, and we can count on Battle Fury. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
By the forge we create and we mend.
Nothing wrong with that. But right now, as we attack with our 7/5 bro, and he just blocks with Feral Mystic, it's no damage coming through. It's a harsh winds, sure thing. At least his Trundle block sucks. He's not strong enough to kill any of our big bros out here. I could tell what's going to happen. This is what's going to be the ultimate sadness for us, is we're going to get this unblocked attack in with the Favored Artisan, and we're going to want to Battle Fury. And we just don't have the mana to do it. All right, well, opponent doesn't have the mana to bury to Ice anymore, so let's go ahead and go for it. So we'll put the Ornn in. He's going to copy the combat reel. We should have. He's probably not going to attack now anyways, but we should have put the combat reel down first, just in case he attacked, so we could get the block in. But I mean, next turn we do have this opportunity to hook Trundle out of combat and then threaten lethal with 2 separate units. And so if we say attack with everybody, hook Trundle with the Favored Artisan, and then he plays Harsh Winds on our 2 big boys, we could still get a kill in with Battle Fury. Doesn't look like it's gonna come together now, but option was there. Now we do have to worry about Buried in Ice. Bit of a bummer. So we'll just have to go ahead and attack right now.
I forge in his name.
Bit of a bummer. What's he gonna do? Is he gonna entomb, which kills off the equipment, or is he going to go for the flash freeze? If he goes for the flash freeze on Ornn and we get that chance to Battle Fury, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about it. Pretty excited about that. Or if he taps too low, I mean, maybe we do get that chance for just the Battle Fury kill. Entomb onto the Mender. Okay. Rip Combat Reel. Rip Trundle. Do get the Ornn flip. I have to assume he's got some kind of answer to Ornn if he's not going to be directly going after him. Let's wait. I don't want to. I don't want to just lose our units to Buried in Ice. So if he passes back to us, it's a little scary. We might have to just add the Ruthless Raider. But I don't want to just add a bunch of stuff to this board for no reason. It's also almost tempting to just discard the Ruthless Raider, but Feel the Rush. Okay. We can deal with Feel the Rush. We're gonna be Battle Fury and in front of a 10-10. It's gonna feel pretty good. See if he let's see if he hooks this Ornn with Aurelion Sol. Who's he gonna use? I can't wait to see. Oh man, that's not the fun way to do it. All right, man. I was really hoping we were gonna get to bring in the fun. God, now we're one short off the Ruthless Raider as well. I guess we should have added Jax. I thought that he was going to take a hook in on Ornn and we were going to be able to Battle Fury to survive. But now that we don't have the extra unit on board, this is kind of meh. A little meh. Right, if we're gonna Battle Fury onto the Ruthless Raider, we're gonna be short on damage. Alright, well, we at least get to kill his team through Feel the Rush here, right? I feel like that's one of those spots, if we start playing cards, then we're gonna run into problems. So we'll just take it a little slow. And yeah, I don't want all of our dudes to just get killed by Buried in Ice. So I'll hold back onto Jax just a little bit, see if we can't stall it out for a turn. Should we just go ahead and Bellows Breath? It does get a kill onto one pillar and onto the Serpent. There's the answer. There's the answer to all your problems. Just draw another Ornn. Okay. He goes, Feel the Rush. And he can't kill us here. He does have good, like, it's not even a good hook onto the Ruthless Raider. That's wild.
I made this hammer. It was so good I named
All right,
it hammer.
we'll keep copying the combat reel. We might have wanted to copy the Jax equipment just to give the Ornn Overwhelm. Like, we don't care about quick attack, but Overwhelm's pretty important. So we're back into the spot. Let's see, what are you, what are you doing? What are you attacking Aurelion Sol into Ornn for? I think we're okay. Has to feel bad when you make that realization that you're about to get boned. All right, so Jax can come in. We'll just replace the Acathian Rain with this with this Fishawak, or with this combat reel. He still carries Overwhelm now that he's flipped, so he gets to have the big stats as he comes into combat now. Let's see, where'd you go, Parts Made Whole? Gonna be ready to discard you. We'll get rid of the Light of Acacia. Just put the unit on board. It's gonna let us come over and hook this Ice Pillar out of combat. We can make an attack thusly. This is still lethal with the Jax coming into the pillar. We'll hit with Ornn. We can't pick and choose where his hook goes, but he's gonna make the unit big enough that Aurelion Sol has to block it, and then we'll get to see if we make some decisions around finally playing this Battle Fury. Alright, Troll Chant. Not scared of that one. Winter's Touch. Gotta like seeing Winter's Touch come in. Say, I don't have the answer bust. Living Legends, GG. Can't play any of those cards. Got him. Nice, nice. Exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the reach, right? As you drag on the game like that, the units that you have don't really matter. It's the equipment, and you get to play that equipment over and over again. So as we were playing that 9/7 combat reel, whatever it was, on the various dudes, you get to play it on anybody. So even if you pick up Weaponsmith's Apprentice on turn 10, equipping it with that big like 9/7 combat reel is a pretty big deal, and so good stuff there. All right, the last battle up against Seraphine Samira. No end in sight for this stupid deck, and so it's all over the place in the open. It's all over the place here. It's one of those decks it's kind of odd in the sense that it's tough to tell if it's actually good or if the people that like to play it are just good and they make a bad deck look good. And I haven't really gotten the full consensus on the feelings for it. As we've played some of these games against it throughout the day here, you can tell that the pilot just isn't as experienced with the deck as we saw a lot of the way through the open event. And it's tough to tell if it's just something that's different when you pick it up, or if it's just because you saw Mage and Bay play it and he's just better than all of us. And so he, again, like as I was talking a few videos ago about the Elusives deck that Drissoth put together, I don't think it's a particularly strong deck. I get how it attacks the meta in certain ways, right? It hits take the combat reel here to make our unit big enough to fight Seraphine. It fights the meta against, say, like the timelines very well, since they're just trying to spend all of their mana on units and try a very big curve game. And so you say, all right, well, I'm just not going to interact. I'm going to attack around you. It gets to a spot to where it's tough to decide if that deck's actually good because Drissoth's just better than everybody else. And so I don't think it was actually a good deck, but it did carry a pretty big win right there. Because he's so strong and so good. Now with this, it's slightly awkward. I want to be able to hook in the Seraphine with our Piltover Castaway, but the mana just doesn't work, right? I'm too worried that if we play the Entrancing Lure onto the Castaway and hook Seraphine, that he's just going to Mystic Shot down the Castaway, and we're in kind of a losing position from there. And so I want to see if he won't come in and just spend some mana, and we can do this the slower way, and then just try and fish fight her down. Like, it's not a unit that we have to, immediately be like, oh, fuck, we got to get this Seraphine off of the board, right? She's not presenting a lot of danger at the moment, but I would prefer to get her off of the board before she gets up to 7 or 8 level ups on the ability.
This land is ours.
But give that just a hot second, a hot moment. Boost up our strong bro here. Now we have a lot better hooks into Seraphine. Does suck that she'd be able to just eat the 7, right? But I think this is still a strong set of attacks.
Hold while I smith.
See if we can't get her off board. It's always kind of rough. She's such a good champion to just like lose and replay, because she does generate the spell. This is all fine. Really surprised he went so in on the stun if he just already had the disintegrate in hand. It's kind of weird. All right, well, let's see how this goes forward. The thing I would like to do here is, wow, people playing Plaza Guardians early, is I want to get Jax on board, and I want to Bellows Breath onto Jax. We sequence this wrong? We need to fish fight this thing, don't we? We probably didn't need to eat that damage. Sure. Because right now we get to come in and just present lethal next turn. We'll add the blacksmith here, and then we have about a 250,000 damage ready ready on the board. Did you disintegrate our unit? What just happened there? All right. Well, I'm gonna send the. Oh god. Okay. It's like, I'm gonna send the squad in. It just gets too slow if he's able to start adding in all these Plaza Guardians to the board. Decent chance that we don't get the lethal here, but I don't think the space that we're kind of in is we add a unit, he adds a Plaza Guardian, we add a unit, he adds a Plaza Guardian, and then all of the spells that he wanted to play, he's still just able to play them in the middle of combat here. And so it doesn't really add anything by adding those units to the board. You really need to be in a spot to where you can, say, add 2. I guess the kind of counter argument to that would have been the potential to boost this Jax, but I think this is still reasonable. I don't think we're in a spot to where we're getting killed by Plaza Guardians next turn.
And we mend.
There are stories in the ringing of steel.
Okay. It's a pretty weak song spinner. I mean, picking up spells is great, sure, but he's not really able to do combo stuff this round. Like, it's a very odd choice to have it without Seraphine. We're going to be able to reload pretty fully. So all I'm looking to kind of pull off this turn, I want to spend 11 mana, right? We have 11. I'm just not playing Time and Dedication this round, but I do want to be playing Bellows Breath. But I'm leaning towards going this way with it. I don't really care if these units come in and start to take damage. So let's just go ahead and Hearthblood Mender the blacksmith. He attacks. We can trade off this singular favorite artisan in front of the Plaza Guardian. That's fine. It's going to die to our Bellowed Breath anyways, but the remainder of our units here don't die to it. Interesting Hearthblood Mender attack. This is okay to just like pivot out of playing Bellows Breath, right? It only does 2 damage.
for this.
So say we block like this and fall to 11, and we just play the Weaponsmith's Apprentice and re-equip the combat reel. I'm not worried about falling to 11. This isn't a deck that's going to burn us out.
Story lives on.
Alright, Apprentice in.
Please tell us the story.
The combat reel will get +1/+1 onto the Apprentice, so it'll take her up to 7. So she can get a lethal in here as well. Then we can put the time and dedication over on this innovative blacksmith and get it up to 7. And so we'll have 3 units that should have 7 attack. And then we also have that combo of Artisan, Hearthblood Mender getting up to 7 as well.
To the forge. Hold while I smith.
Let me check.
Here, let me see that.
Alright, here comes the squad. Seems good. You know, I never feel too comfortable when these spaces come together because these decks have so much bullshit random generation in it. But that's a lot to have to deal with when you don't have Ezreals on board or don't have Seraphines on board. And so I think we should be okay here almost all the time. But stranger shits happen. This could be like a Hextech Transmogulator. That's not going to do anything. If he plays Progress Day, we're certainly winning. Let's see what it is. It's not enough. GG. And all right. So not a bad set of battles. We got a swath of what's popular in Eternal right now between the Seraphine deck and the Ornn deck, but we didn't run across the things that this deck truly smashes. We didn't get to play against the likes of Pirates or Ziggs Poppy or any of those aggro decks. We did get that one matchup with Annie Jhin to where they conceded almost immediately. Those matchups are all super strong, but you're also really strong against the kind of Demacia attack decks, right? So the board control based decks like Scouts and like Poppy Lulu, like we've been playing in best of 3. This deck really crushes those hard as well. And so it's very well aligned in the current meta. It's not super strong in terms of, say, playing against the control decks that are like really trying to ace this kind of strategy. Like you're never going to have a good matchup against Rise. But it does at least still have game against the control decks like Victor Aphelios and like the back alley bar style of things. It's not like super ideal, but it's not one of these decks that runs into like 70-30 matchups like the Rise deck is. And so it's just really, really strong across the board. It's good against the aggro. It's good against the mid-range. It has we were very successful against Seraphine in these matchups, but I don't think the players we played against were ultra familiar with the deck. That's more of a coin flippy kind of match. And then the control decks, while they aren't spectacular, they're still pretty winnable. And so, good stuff, fun deck. I had fun with it. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bustin' Me. Thank you for being here.